welcome back to GrandOldTeam TV. You'll remember that I said before the video with Sedo that I put out earlier on in the week that I want to include as many Evertonians as possible within GrandOldTeam TV. So today I'm speaking to Mark, who was the former editor of EFC Feeling Blue and now runs the Everton Fan Focus podcast, which is one of the best podcasts out there on Everton. Mark's a very vocal Evertonian. He has lots of followers on Twitter, and we caught up to speak about Stoke at the weekend and what we can expect, and also the transfer activity and the reactions to the lack of it at the moment, and the hysterics that kind of goes with that. So we had a really good chat, a good laugh. Remember, if you want to be involved in GrandOldTeam TV, please reach out to me and let me know. I will try and sort something out. But for the meantime, sit back, relax, and watch me and Mark talk about Everton for the next half an hour.
Okay.
So Mark, thanks for joining us on GrandOldTeam TV today. I appreciate you coming on and giving up your time.
Thanks for the invite, my pleasure.
No problem, mate. I believe you're going to be getting married on Saturday, so you can't make the game, unfortunately, but we probably understand the other commitments that you've got.
Yeah, believe it or not, we chose a 3 o'clock wedding, and that so happens to be when Everton are playing Stoke City, so can't be helped.
How have a few of your friends reacted to that then, the fact that, you know, they're going to have to give up their ticket on Saturday?
Well, there's a few narcs who have had to get rid of the season tickets, but, you know, this is a priority, and I'm sure they will be checking the phones throughout the ceremony anyway, and then
letting you know.
Hopefully dancing the night away to another 3 points.
hopefully. So it is obviously Stoke who are coming to Goodison on Saturday. I've spoken to a few Stoke fans about the game, and none of them are optimistic. I'm not messing. I think I've spoke to about 4 or 5 of them, and all of them have said not very confident about this one, Ad. So what are your thoughts from an Everton perspective? How do you think we'll get on?
I think I'm a lot more confident this time around. I mean, if you think back to when we played them in December, I think it was a couple of days after Christmas last year. Obviously, turbulent time at the club under Martinez. We were a bit fragile, whereas I think it's only early days, very early days. But I think in terms of how we're set up now with Koeman in charge and the players we've got, the formation we're trying, I think we'll be a lot more confident going into this game. And Stoke have started slowly, haven't they? They've drew with Borough. They've been, you know, comfortably beaten by Man City. They did win in a cup in midweek, but they will come here and you know, they'll be facing an Everton side who's with a new system, a new manager, and hopefully, you know, I've got all confidence that we can get another 3 points going into the international break.
Yeah, you know what, mate? You just reminded me there of that 4-3 at Goodison last season.
Nightmare.
Mate, and I was sitting on the front row, and when Shaqiri scored, he ran up in front of the Bullings and did that, didn't he? And I'm on the front row, and you could see me quite evidently distressed behind Shaqiri after, just bemused by the whole thing, because I don't know if you remember before Shaqiri's goal, which nobody's quite sure if he actually meant that. I think it was the second one. Do you remember when he chipped Howard from inside his own box? But about 2 minutes before that, I think, if I remember correctly, Howard sarcastically clapped the Gladys Street. Do you remember that? And it was just a... And then what were we, like, 3-2 up with, like, I don't know, 15 minutes left, and went on to lose it. And, yeah, just horrendous memories. But we did go to the Britannia Stadium, though, after Martinez had attended a Jason Derulo concert. And we're 3-0 up by half time, so it swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
I think that was the chalk and cheese of Everton the past 3 years. Definitely under that manager, we had the potential to go away and slam teams 3-0, but then be beaten in embarrassing fashion on our home turf at Goodison. And even I think it was Newcastle, we beat them 1-0 and we scored in the last minute just before Christmas, or was it Boxing Day?
Boxing Day, wasn't it? Yeah.
All of the positivity from that was sucked out of us because Arnautovic scored that late winner, didn't he? It was John Stones, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, John Stones. Well, look, at the end of the day, I mean, there was a lot of debate at the time whether it was a penalty or not, but I think we all agreed that John Stones probably shouldn't have dived in like that at that stage in the game whilst Arnautovic. I think he was like, I mean, he was on goal, but he wasn't clear cut. Do you know what I mean? But then again, that was the period where Howard's form just literally dropped out of his arse, and who knows, probably Arnautovic would have dribbled it around him and just slotted it in, probably. So John Stones had a decision to make. But with regards to Stoke, then, as you've rightly highlighted, they haven't had the best start. What do you expect from them now under Hughes? I think they've obviously lost that really kind of aggressive element to the game now, which was a cliche that went along with Stoke under Pulis. That's gone now. Do you think that they're a little bit softer now?
I would, definitely. For example, I wouldn't draw comparisons with them and West Brom anymore, who we've just played. We used to be West Brom and Stoke, and obviously, ironically, Pulis has managed both those sides. But I would say they've got a lot more to them under Mark Hughes. Obviously, he's keeping them finishing in the top half. They're not a great side. I don't think they're really going to kick on to the European places. But they're certainly more than just the physical, well-organised outfit that they maybe were the past, 4 or 5 years ago. They've got a lot more talent there now, and obviously some big names as well that they've attracted there over the years. So I think Hughes does deserve credit for that. But don't get me wrong, they've still got a few dogs that play for
Ryan Shawcross.
Shawcross, Glenn Whelan, and the right back Bardsley, to name both.
Bardsley. I was saying today, to my mate, oh God, that fella is the epitome of a yard dog.
Yeah.
Although his missus is quite nice, though. She appears on that Cheshire Housewives show, which I don't watch, obviously. You know what I mean? My missus puts it on. I don't have anything to do with it, but I may have seen it once or twice. Who in your opinion, Mark, would you say is the danger man for Stoke? Looks like Shaqiri might potentially miss out, but who else should we be?
He's out, is he? Yeah.
Well, he's a doubt, yeah. Shaqiri's a doubt. I think Butland's definitely been ruled out. I think Mark Hughes ruled him out today, but I think Shaqiri might have been facing a few late fitness tests. But those two aside, who else would you look to and be a little bit concerned about?
Joe Allen, the Welsh Xavi.
They go along with that still, by the way, even though that was Brendan Rodgers who made that up. Stoke fans have carried that on, so that's nice to see.
To be honest, it's probably it makes sense, that signing for them. You know what I mean? He just was never going to really cut it at Liverpool, Joe Allen, and I think he had a major role to play in their 4-0 win the other night. I think he got a few assists, so he's I wouldn't say he was a threat, but he'll definitely have a part to play on Saturday with him being ex-Liverpool. But Shaqiri's the one, and he's Shaqiri. If he misses out, that's a plus for Everton, because he's some player, Shaqiri. I think people have criticised his attitude and his fitness or whatever, but he came in last season. We were heavily linked with him, but typically, like this transfer window, we've missed out on players like him in the past, and he's done well for them last season. He's a threat. Arnautovic is another obvious one. He really impressed last season. Again, another player we've been linked with as well.
Yeah, he signed a new deal now at Stoke. But to be honest, I'm personally not that bothered about Arnautovic, and I'm not just saying this because Everton have now lost out on him. I think Stoke fans would agree with me. He's one of them lads where, and they've got a few lads like this now, Stoke, and this is where I think they need to be careful. Shaqiri, Bojan, who you've missed out there, mate, but Arnautovic, they're players that when they fancy it, they're outrageous. And we saw that in the 4-3 at Goodison. I mean, that day they tore us apart. And they were really effective, and they obviously gave the lads at the back for us a lot to think about. But Bojan is, for me, their most talented footballer when he fancies it. Arnautovic is obviously extremely talented. Shaqiri is very good as well. But Bojan is a little wizard, I think. So would you be concerned about him?
Well, yeah, I mean, he scored the winner there, didn't he? It was Boxing Day nearly 2 years ago?
That's right, yeah.
Scored the winner at Goodison. He's always a threat, Bojan, but if he's fit, you know what I mean? He's had a lot of bad luck with injuries, but he's the sort of little gifted player that can, I'd love to have at Everton. We've got a few like that ourselves, but I think, Arnautovic is obviously physical, and he can get a goal. He's probably not an Everton type player in terms of what we're trying to instill in our squad. We were linked with him, and I think it was maybe a bit of agent talk that got him a new deal. But I do agree. I think some of them are maybe using Stoke as a stepping stone. Fair play for Hughes for getting them there. They might be paying big wages, and they're doing okay. But I do think that inevitably these players will move on. And as you say, they blow hot and cold. Look at when we beat them 3-0 at the Britannia. You know what I mean? A lot of them went missing that day. We could have, in all seriousness, beat them about 12-0 that day. Yeah,
well, if it wasn't for Jack Butland, we would have. And him being missing, I think, potentially, arguably their best player is actually Jack Butland. And I think Stoke fans will probably agree with me here. Like, he he keeps them in games, and he's a fantastic keeper. For me, I'd want us to try and sign him. I mean, they've had a knack of actually bringing in some decent keepers in recent times. Obviously, Begovic was there as well for a while. He's another person who I would probably identify now. If he isn't going to get game time at Chelsea, then they might have signed another keeper today or have been linked with another keeper.
He did.
Yeah. So I'd look to maybe Koeman is potentially identified Begovic, and that's why he hasn't followed up on the Hart thing. Obviously, that's a completely different conversation for us to have. But staying with Stoke then. So just quickly, their centre forwards, the youth. I don't know if you've seen much of the youth for them.
He's again another player who's hot and cold. I think he scored an hat-trick in one game last season, then went missing. Reminds me a bit like a Kone.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something magical 1 minute, not very often, but and then the next minute he looks very bang average. But they've got others like Walters. Crouch got a game, scored a hat-trick the other night, didn't he? I doubt he'll start. But they've got the players who've got a knack for a goal and vastly experienced. But there isn't anything where it stands out extremely and think, they've got a Lukaku or a Delafoe or a Ross Barkley. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Although I think with that said, though, obviously we've already touched on some of the good and talented players that they do have. I think though, if we were to beat Stoke on Saturday, which obviously I hope we do convincingly, because it's always nice to beat Stoke. Where I live, I live quite close to Stoke, should we say, and. Obviously, all my missus' family are season ticket holders at Stoke. A lot of my mates are Stoke fans, and the people I work with are Stoke fans, so it's always nice for me to get one over of them. But if Everton were to beat them on Saturday, I think that would give us another boost, and then we go into the international break, I think, full of confidence there. Because regardless, they're still a hard side to break down and beat, and it's gonna be tough. But I think it'd be a real positive if we were to get 3 points, right?
Definitely, and obviously when you go into the international break, it's always nice to be on the back of a win, because you've got that extra week then. And if you're on a defeat or a draw, you're dwelling on it and you think there are only ifs, buts, and maybes. But I think it's all about momentum now, and I was glad to see him put out a good side the other night against Yeovil, and obviously convincing win and a clean sheet. I was glad to see us fight back against West Brom and against Spurs. For the main part, it was largely positive. So it's all about momentum and Stoke. And then if you look at the 4 or 5 fixtures that follow that, there's a real chance, without getting ahead of ourselves, because I do think we need to sign players, which I know you'll probably come to, but we're far from the finished article. But I do think this momentum, and Stoke offers a real opportunity to get another 3 points, obviously get yourselves up the table, and then we can focus on a nice 2-week break and hopefully get some players in.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean about the coming fixtures, and I've looked at them myself and thought this could be a good opportunity for us to really put some points on the board. And you're then looking at the first part of the season. If we were to go on and win most of those games, this is looking really positive. Then it gives everybody a boost. But it is a really tough league, and as we've seen last season, I mean, I think it'll be a little bit different this season. But anybody can beat anybody, and they frequently do. And we've seen the likes of Hull come up and hold their own already. I know we're only 2 games in, Middlesbrough, so there really isn't any easy teams, and I think this is a bit of a test on Saturday, and if we can get the points, it'll be again another boost given the already pretty decent start that we've made. But let's just talk about Everton then. Let's just focus on the new lads then for a second, Mark, because I want to get your thoughts and opinions on Ashley Williams so far. Only seen him for a little bit against West Brom last week, but how do you feel about this signing? Were you in the camp that was quite positive about the signing, Ashley Williams?
Yeah, without a doubt. I completely see Evertonians' points that it's a few quid to pay for he's now 32-year-old, but ultimately, as I've said previously, I feel if you want to go out and buy players for the here and now, someone who's going to help Everton get back into that top half of the table, because if you look at it, we've finished 11th for the past 2 seasons. We need to get back up there, and we can't afford to wait around and maybe bring in a foreign player for 10 million, 15 million for let them a bedding in time. The likes of Ashley Williams, he won't even need any introductions around Finch Farm. He comes in, he knows his role, he's captain material. I think Funes Mori's going to be looking over his shoulder now, because this manager now, it's only been 2 or 3 games, but he's showing that if you're not cutting the mustard, he'll move you aside, and there's going to be players coming in. So obviously we lost on John Stones, disappointing, but I think it was inevitable that was going to happen. Yeah, we've signed Ashley Williams. Looks like we'll probably get Lamine Kone. That area at the back with Mason Holgate, Jagielka and Funes Mori, that is strength and depth. Those 5 players I've just mentioned there. Obviously, Kone to come in, we await to be seen. But I was very much happy with the signing of Williams. Every time I've seen him play against Everton, he's been head and shoulders above the rest. And at times, I think we've really lacked a leader like that, especially the past 2 years.
Well, that's what I said actually in the video that I did when he signed for GrandOldTeam. I said that's what we've been missing. I feel that although Jagielka has been a very good servant to Everton and will put his body on the line, what we've lacked, especially in the centre-half position now for a while, is a bit of aggression. And I don't think that centre forwards have come to Goodison in recent seasons and thought, I'm going to have a really hard day today. I'm going to have somebody who's going to get in my face, who's going to make it really awkward for me, and he's going to just terrorise me, and not give me a second's peace. And I think now in Ashley Williams, we've got somebody who's got that, you know what I mean? He's just got a presence. I think that's what I'm trying to say. He's got a presence, and we now have that. And then if you think about, we'll touch on. In fact, we'll go and talk a bit about him now. Just a guy and the effect that he's had on the side, and the fact that he doesn't give you a second a little bit further forward now. And he's in your face and he's snappy and he gets around. Just on him then, how impressed have you been with him as well, or just a guy?
Williams, I think, but he's only played a few minutes.
No, sorry, mate. Address a guy.
Just a guy. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I was talking about in terms of like obviously you've got we're bringing Ashley Williams in for his aggression, and we've got somebody who is a bit of a he's got that authority at the back, and then I was just saying a little bit in front of him now. You've got a player in just a guy who can get around you, who doesn't give you a second. Do you know what I mean? So how impressed have you been with him?
Well, starting at the back, I think that's what he's come in and thought, right, let's get the basics right. We need a keeper. Stekelenburg might not be a long-term option. We need a centre-half. Again, Williams might not be, you might get 5 years out of him, but ultimately we probably need to nurture Mason Holgate or Funes Mori into them players ahead of that guy. No one saw that signing coming. He's been brilliant, without getting too carried away. I can't remember an Everton player having such an impressive debut as he did against Spurs. Rightly so, got man of the match. Since then, he's followed it up though. Hardly put a foot wrong against West Brom, and he's just he's everything we've lacked again in that area. Obviously, we've got Barry, we've got McCarthy, we've got Bezic, Darren Gibson. We've flirted with a few players over the years, but this lad looks like he's young. He's not afraid to throw a tackle in. He can start the play. He can bring an end to the opposition's play. And he can do the legwork for the likes of Gareth Barry, who's still a master in the middle. But ultimately, he's in the twilight years, isn't he? That guy can really make this position his own. And, looking at the statistics when we signed him, people were comparing him with Kante and that. But I think there's no reason why he can't go on to have just an impressive season as N'Golo Kante did for Leicester last season. Obviously, they won the league with him in the side, but this kid looks the real deal.
Yeah, I like the way you said that guy in the middle, and you could have meant that guy and this guy or that guy. I like what you did there, Mark. Very, very clever, mate. Very clever. No, I think, and also just touching on Gareth Barry for a second. I said this in the last video, the conversation that I had with Sedo. It seems like he's given Idrissa Gueye has given Gareth Barry a bit of a new lease of life. It obviously allows him to just push up a little bit further and dictate the play a little bit more. You ain't got to worry about what's going on behind him so much because Idrissa Gueye's the fella mopping up and hoovering up and winning the ball back. And I just think we might get a little bit more out of Barry this season.
Definitely. Did he know the role, you see? With all due respect, McCarthy's run around a lot for the past 2 years, but has he done much else? So
no.
Ultimately, Barry doesn't really know where McCarthy's going to be. Bezic is a bit of a hothead, isn't he? When he's on the pitch, when he's unfortunately not injured, he's a bit unpredictable. Whereas Barry is probably safe in the knowledge that this lad is next to him. He's going to be in the right areas, breaking up the right play. It's not all on Gareth Barry anymore.
Yeah.
And ahead of that, Ross Barkley, know your role. You know what I mean? He's not in the role to break up the play, Ross Barkley. He's in the final third, creating, pushing the play forward. Barry, Gueye are the ones who can take the pressure off the defence, take the pressure off the attack. They're the middlemen, and that's ultimately it's developed a better spine and outlook for the middle of Everton's team.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. So just moving on then to another new addition. Again, we've not seen a lot of him. I realise that. But Yannick Bolasie, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll mention the price tag. Not everyone's cup of tea. People look at his goal record and it isn't great. I think he was 9 last season, or maybe even his total time at Palace. It was 9 goals, but ultimately, I think judging on what he came into the team and done on against West Brom for that cameo role, should we call it, on his debut. That's what he's in the team for, skinning a right back or a left back, putting a ball over. That's what we want him in the team for. Obviously, add to that goals. Morales and Deulofeu, aren't adept with double figures, 10, 15 goals every season. They will get you goals, and I think with Balassi making a step up to Everton, because with all due respect, it is a step up from Palace to Everton. I think we'll see that. But he's put in the team to set the likes of Lukaku up, to link up the play with Ross Barkley like he did excellently. And he could have had 2 assists within 10 minutes, but for our poor finishing.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
I a bit of rustiness, to be honest, because Barkley and Lukaku were fairly reliable.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, people want to hear him now. They want a player to come in, and if they pay a big price tag, they want it to be exciting. I'm excited by Balassi, similarly to Williams. Whenever he played against Everton, I was impressed. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. I know 25 mil's a lot, maybe for his age and what he's done in his career, but I think it's what's to come. You know what I mean? And the aim to get Everton back up the table is for the here and now, and I think these players are going to be able to do that. Obviously, we need more players as well.
Yeah, of course. Just on the Balassi assist things, I always find that slightly strange when people mention assists, because for Balassi, I mean, Balassi can put as many balls in the box as he needs to. If nobody's going to finish them off, that's not his fault. So assists is a bit of a dud. You show me, he hardly got any assists last season. I'm like, all right, that's partly down then to the fact that the centre forwards weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. Now, obviously, with the fact that he's playing alongside Lukaku, hopefully we'll see a few more goals. And you saw it against West Brom. I mean, he put it on a plate for Ross Barkley. Ross Barkley missed. Nothing Yannick Balassi can do about that.
Yeah. And I mean, looking back to Palace, he's putting the balls over for Connor Wickham and Emmanuel Adebayor.
Exactly.
With all due respect,
Dwight Gale.
He's putting the balls in for Romelu Lukaku. He's 10 times the player that both of them are. And no Palace fan could even argue with that. So he's going to be putting them balls in, but he's also, the way he drove at West Brom, and he got tackled by 2 of them. He got up, got it back, and then had to go himself. He probably should have assisted there, but don't get me wrong, even if he starts a game and he does that for an hour, he's going to cause mayhem. He'll cause absolute mayhem. If he comes off the bench for half an hour, leggy left backs or right backs who are a bit, puffing, blowing out, he's going to come on. I'm not going to fancy this at all, because no one will fancy him in a sprint, will he? And all he's got to do is get them balls over. And I'm confident with the creativity and finishes we've got in the side that he'll be a success.
Yeah, well, ironically, your dog's like Phil Bardsley. Yannick Balassi could cause someone like him a few problems. Who else have we got to speak to with regards to new signings? So we've done Williams, Balassi. Stekelenburg, yeah, obviously been pretty impressive. The Spurs game, standing out, kept in the game. But you'd want another keeper as well, then, yeah.
Without doubt, I'd echo your thoughts just quickly on Butland. Definitely, if it was to go out and sign a player, that in realistic terms it would be Jack Butland. Asmir Begovic not played a lot of football. Well, I think he did for a section of last season because of Courtois' injury. But
that's right,
they've just gone out and signed Portugal's keeper, Chelsea. So that he's going to be surplus to requirements, which, as you said before, Koeman apparently pulled the plug on the Hart deal a couple of days ago, and he's confirmed it today. Whereas last week it looked nailed on. I definitely think, even with Stekelenburg, we need another keeper, because you're looking at the areas in the pitch and the players we've just been talking about. You're looking at 2 or 3 for each position.
Yeah,
that's the end game and the goal for this squad. We need that. We haven't really got it up front. We haven't really got it in the middle. We have probably in defence now. Right back, left back. We've got people out on loan as well. Don't forget, we've got Tom Davis and Kieran Dowell in the middle. You've got to include these in it as well. But I think at the back, Robles isn't going to get a sniff, is he? Let's be honest. He come in and rightly earned his place last season. But Stekelenburg, no nonsense, experienced, no fuss.
He makes a decision, exactly. He makes a decision and then he sticks to it.
Exactly.
And that's part. I mean, I'm no expert on goalkeeping, but I think that's part of it. If you think about something and then you don't follow through on it, and you hesitate, that's when problems occur, and that's what we started to see towards the back end of Tim Howard's career. But obviously, there was enough said about that, and obviously Tim Howard's gone off to the States now, so we won't stick on him.
But the confidence, though, Adam, throughout the team, from a good keeper to having the likes of Ashley Williams and Jagielka around the club, that can only resonate throughout the rest of the side. You've got Guy mopping up. Then the final third of the team, you could basically give them all a free roll. Balassi, Morales, Deulofeu, Barkley, Lukaku. Look at that front five. They're not all going to play at the same time, but add to that the potential of 2 new faces in that area, and it's even more exciting than it was, say, 3 years ago, shall we say, when we had that really good season.
Yeah, no, I agree. So just sticking on transfers, because we've got about 5 minutes left. There's, again, as there always are on places like Twitter in particular, people are starting to get a little bit hysterical now. They're starting to get a little bit concerned because we haven't signed somebody for about a week. What would you? How are you concerned, Mark? I mean, obviously, we all would have liked to have seen more players in. We know the squad still needs strengthening, but are you really that concerned, or do you think stuff will happen? Are you got confidence in obviously Farhad Moshiri and Koeman and Wolves doing the right thing?
Yeah, put it this way: a year ago, I probably wouldn't have had that confidence. Things have happened at the club, which I could go on all night about, but I won't. But I'm going to try and be the voice of reason. I do remember probably 3-4 weeks ago when, pre-season was in the middle of it. We were in the midst of that. We've let a few players go. Don't forget, we have let players go on freeze. Hibbert and Osman, to name a couple. Pienaar as well.
Yeah.
And I can completely see people are panicking. But things were always going to be slow with the Euros. Things were always going to be slow with Steve Walsh and Koeman coming into the club. Things are appearing to be slow and more at a pace with the Moshiri developments. He's coming in February, don't forget. It's not all going to happen overnight. I think that's going to be Everton's model, whereas some fans are losing their head thinking, I want 5 top-draw strikers. People have to realise that we've finished in the bottom half the past 2 years. We haven't got European football. Players will look at that straight away, first and foremost. What can Everton offer me? We might be able to offer decent wages now and playing with some exciting players, but ultimately, look at our performance the past 18 months, 2 years. It's not been good enough. We've sacked the manager. The only difference is now, and with a short period of time left before the window, we've brought a few players in. We've got some really good players there. We've got a new manager, a big name in world football that will hopefully attract it, and hopefully players that are incoming buy into that project. It's a long-term project. So I do think that it's a bit... I completely understand where Everton fans are coming from, but 3 or 4 weeks ago, they were all, shitting themselves, and then next thing, we've gone out and signed 3 or 4 players, which we have, and, with Everton, it doesn't help because Everton's protracted, and we're linked with every man and his dog, and we've lost out on that Perez today. We're not signing Joe Hart. People want to see faces, people want to see breaking news from the Everton Twitter account, but I think we're in for a nice week. I honestly do. I would expect to see a new signing before the game on Saturday. I'm that confident. And on
that was a confident shout, Mark. I was just about to say. I thought you were going to say by the end of the week.
I've said this for a few weeks, Adam, and I'm trying to be a realist. Don't get me wrong. I've been the most oppressive Evertonian over the years, but with Moshiri in charge from top to bottom, there's appointment to Koeman, Walsh, and the soundbites coming out of Goodison now, I'm a lot more confident, and I do think we'll sign at least 2 new players, and I strongly believe that we need at least 2 new players if we're to do anything this season. And by doing anything, I mean getting back into, top 6, shall we say. I don't want to finish 8th, I don't want to finish 7th. You're not really noticed, are you, if you finish between 7th and 17th? You're not noticed, it's just the best of the rest. I'm sick of us being down there. It's only been 2 years. I want to get back in them European places. That's when you can maybe attract a different,
caliber,
caliber of player. That's the word I was looking for. But I'm still quietly confident. Put it this way, I'm not having a panic on Twitter like a lot of other people.
Do you know what, mate? Voice of reason, you were fantastic there, mate. I need to carry you around me in my pocket for when I get stressed, because that was good, Mark. That was no, you're very sensible. And at the end of the day, this is what I've said, and I'll say it again. Koeman wouldn't have taken this job on if there wouldn't have been reassurances made there. Do you know what I mean? He just wouldn't have taken it, would he? He'd have stayed at Southampton. They would probably could have matched maybe Everton were trumping him a little bit with regards to wages. But do you know what I mean? He's taken this on because he can see it's a project. Farhad Moshiri, I think he means business. Obviously, the things that have gone on in the back the back room of the back room and whatever that phrase they use in the background. I think it's all positive. So I'm with you, mate. I think we just need to relax, and we've already seen some positive things happen, and I think we'll continue to see them happen.
He himself wouldn't have come to the club, Mashiri, though, if he didn't see a business plan and model for the club going forward, because he's not just going to come here and we stay at Goodison and we sell to buy and have that sort of mentality of losing players and and being back to square one every now and again. People go on about net spends and things, and I'm trying to not read too much into it. I think since February, Martinez had to go, Mashiri's come in, Koeman's come in. I was happy with that. Walsh has come in. Why would he leave Leicester? Do you know what I mean? In the Champions League, maybe he thinks his work is done. He's coming in now, and now he's got to work to get Everton back up the table. Ultimately, that's the aim. We want to be in the Champions League ourselves. If Leicester can do it, why can't Everton do it? And then, attracting. We've gone in. We've signed Southampton's manager. We've gone to Leicester, got a head of recruitment. We've gone to Crystal Palace, signed their star player. We've gone to Swansea City, signed their captain. Villa, I know they got relegated, but we probably signed one of their star players, and I think we just need to add maybe a bit of continental talent to make sure our fans know that we do mean business. But I firmly agree, it's not going to happen overnight.
No, definitely. So where can people find you on Twitter then, Mark? And your voice of reasoning?
Find us on Lower Gladys Lad. That's me. And you can also, a shameless plug for our podcast here, myself and Mark Ellis do Everton Fan Focus podcast, which is as it is on Twitter, so you can find us there.
I'll put a link to that underneath the video. So thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it. And good luck on Saturday with the wedding, and hopefully Everton get 3 points for you.
Hopefully we do, yeah. And thanks for having us on, mate.
Cheers, Mark.